Looks like we're live now.
Wow. Let's see. There we go.
So just a thought for anybody, if you're using a laptop, if you press your space bar, it'll unmute you for a second so you can talk. You don't have to worry about looking for the mute button. If you're using, that's only for using a laptop though.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a delay between this and this.
Looks like we're live on YouTube now. I can see us all.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're watching, so,
Yeah, I've got it on the other monitor.
okay.
Are
And
we
then
looking gorgeous, Dan?
we are about a minute away from 7 o'clock, so with, I think we have everyone able to hear. And we are
I don't
live.
have one.
What are you, Councillor Goodhand?
Hmm?
Can you hear us, Councillor Goodhand?
I can hear you. I don't have Ron, a picture of Ron though.
He's down at the bottom of the screen right now.
Well, you're on the iPad, so you'll have to swipe sideways, swipe to the
Well,
the
that
right.
lost them all.
Oh, there you go.
And then you come in. I'm using a laptop and I can see everyone. So as long as you can see yourself, I'll be able to see you raise a hand. Just keep your hands up for a second so I make sure I recognize you and we'll go on with, I can see Councillor Dodge, everybody, we're all got hands up. That's good. So it is 7 o'clock. I will call this meeting, Lambton Shores Council to order. And this is our second electronic meeting. Just before we do the declaration of pecuniary interest, I do want to our thoughts need to turn to the people in Nova Scotia. The tragedy that's happened out there, the people families that are affected, our thoughts and prayers and our hearts go out to them. All those that have had a loss in this last couple of days. Can't imagine going through the COVID-19 restrictions that was happening and all that, and then having something like that on top of it. So we just keep them in our thoughts as we go forward this trying time. So with that, I would ask if anyone has a declaration of pecuniary interest. I see a head shaking no. With that, approval of the agenda, item number 3, recommendation that the April 21st council agenda be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Scott, seconded by Councillor Sageman. Any questions regarding that? All in favor of that? I believe that was carried. Thank you. We have no items on number 4 in the closed session tonight. Item number 5 is adoption of the minutes from the March 3rd council meeting and the April 1st special council meeting. Councillor Scott, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cook. Any questions pertaining to the minutes from the last 2 meetings? Seeing none, all in favor of that? That's carried. Thank you. Councillor reports. Councillor Scott.
You and I had talked earlier, Bill, about the concerns that the West Dipper Wash have in regards to the Kettle Point issue. So I was hoping that you would kind of update us from your meetings that you've been having and put some people's thoughts at rest. They're concerned that they're not getting information there, and I don't know, exactly how we're to do that. So I'm hoping you can give me an update on that.
Just a quick update. Kettle and Stony Point, Chief Henry has been involved with our regular meetings that we have Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays with the mayors and CAOs and emergency control people from across the county. Kettle and Stony Point have been involved with that, been participating in the discussions, and are getting information and providing information back and forth with the Lambton Public Health. So they're quite involved with that, and we are aware of the issues and are trying to work through everything for everyone. They're part of the discussions.
So you and Chief Henry, have you spoken, like, so that they're aware that we would help if there was something we could do?
Yeah, we have open communications. I've called, text, he's called back. We have those discussions, and we're both aware that it's a two-way street and open for discussions.
Thank you.
Okay, any other council reports? Seeing none, I guess I will just update that there is at the county daily regular meetings talking about COVID-19. We're looking at recovery discussions with Sarnia Lambton Economic Partnership, different things. It's back and forth. There's right now we're kind of in a holding pattern with the operating across the county, and county staff are job sharing, working cultural people, cultural services, library people are working with public health and the long-term care home screening people, and lots of cooperations amongst all the departments at the county. So if there's no other council reports, I will move along to public meetings, and we have no statutory public meeting, no presentations, and no delegations that I'm aware of. That's correct. Item number 10 is minutes. There's correspondence, petitions, committee minutes. 10.1 is the minutes of the Forest BIA. There's a recommendation there that item 10.1 be received. Councillor Scott and Deputy Mayor Cook. Any questions on the BIA minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of receiving that? Carried, thank you. 10.2 is an asphalt tender award in the 2020 capital budget. Recommendation with regarding the tender for 2020 asphalt be received. And the tender from Armstrong Paving and Materials Group Limited in the amount of $189,729.47, excluding HST, for the 2020 asphalt resurfacing be received, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the associated contract agreement. Moved by Councillor Wilcox, seconded by Councillor McGuire. Any questions regarding that? Councillor Sageman.
I just had one through you, your worship, to Steve. Just wondering if we've worked with this company before?
Through you, your worship, yes, we have worked with them a while back, and I did ask that question, and we don't have any issues at this point with Armstrong.
Okay, and we're not worried that they're so dramatically less than the rest?
No, there was quite a spread there, but they were keen, I think, as they indicated in the report. I think part of the situation we found ourselves in was just a competitive market. Obviously, oil prices are down, so I'm sure that helps. And we have confirmed with them they're ready to go, and they will get the project done by July 1st. So,
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McGuire.
Yes, your worship. My questions to the Deputy or Community Services Director. With this savings, could we actually do some more roads while the prices are lower?
So through you, your worship, as I noted in the report, what we're suggesting is not to add to this contract, but to look at another potential tender to go with it. Specifically, what we'd like to look at is some what they call micro paving. So it's kind of a cross between paving and tar and chip. So what we're proposing is we put out our normal tar and chip tender, but then we identify some roads that we think would work well with the micro paving, and we put a tender out for that, and obviously bring that back to council for approval. If that doesn't work out, we can always do additional paving later in the year. So one way or the other, if it's council's wish to spend that amount of money, we certainly can, but we'd like to investigate this micro paving to see if it might help us kind of with our resurfacing to get a little bit better than tar and chip.
Perfect.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor of that recommendation? That's carried. Thank you. 10.3 is the harbor maintenance contract. Recommendation there that we received, and that the agreement for maintenance with My Toy Works be accepted, and appropriate bylaw authorizing signing. To Councillor Scott and Councillor Dodge. Any questions regarding that works? Councillor McGuire.
Yes, your worship, to our Director of Community Services again. For this part of the contract, Steve, can My Toy go into the channel where we're having the sandbar issue at the moment?
So through you, your worship, depending on how much is there, we've taken it all out right now.
Mm-hmm.
So there isn't any there. The short answer is, with what was there prior to last week, the answer is no, he couldn't. It would be too much to prop wash. So we'll have to keep an eye on it and see if it keeps going. But we took it all out last week, so we think we're ready to go.
Okay. Any other questions regarding 10.3 of the harbor maintenance contract? All in favor of that? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 10.4, Sunset Market in the park. It's a recommendation that the report be received and that organizers of Sunset Market be granted council approval to apply for special occasion permit for markets at the Optimus Park in Grand Bend throughout 2020. Moved by Councillor Sageman, second by Councillor Scott. Anyone have a question regarding that? Mayor Cook.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not sure who would answer this one. Are they exempt from the shutdown right now because they're a market? Is that would preclude them from, so they can be open all summer, or would they be under restrictions like everybody else?
Oh, I'll jump in and maybe and yeah, until the restrictions are lifted, they wouldn't have their market.
It'll be subject to changes in the essential markets. Councillor Scott?
When you're trying to get, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Steve, when you're trying to get an alcohol permit, which we do often with the seniors and other groups that I'm involved with, you have to give them about 3 to 4 weeks notice. So it's going to be kind of hard for them to be putting together any requests like immediately if all of a sudden all the restrictions were lifted. So with that in mind, do we know if the Alcohol and Gaming Commission will then immediately do it like faster? Like, I mean, if they had a week to go, would they be able to go ahead and put it in earlier just due to the fact of all the conditions that have happened?
So through you, your worship, I guess, Councillor, I can't really answer that. I don't know what would happen, if they'd be able to get it faster or not. It's their responsibility to get it, so we would leave it to them. They went through it last year, so I think they understand what they'll have to do, and they may apply early and have it ready to go once the restrictions get lifted.
we had done the one for a seniors program that we had to cancel. And they are willing to let you move your dollars to another event or withdraw it and get it refunded. So that way I know they're pretty good.
So that might be then what they do. They might apply early, get it, and then move it if they have to. But
Okay,
they
thank
should be
you.
able to do that.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions regarding the sunset? All in favor of that? Opposed? Carried. Okay. 10.5 is the Grand Bend Canada Day fireworks. It's a recommendation that the fire report be received. The council provides additional funding in the amount of up to $35,000 to support the Grand Bend Canada Day celebration fireworks in 2020, provided that the provincial emergency order is lifted and that gatherings are permitted, and that the required funds be allocated from the Community Vibrancy Fund. Moved by Councillor Sageman, second by Councillor Wilcox. Questions regarding that? Deputy Mayor Cook.
Thank you, Mayor. Will this be an annual grant of 35,000, or I'm trying to look at the report, I don't see it there, or did I miss it?
Through you, your worship. At this point, all we're talking about is this year only. So, and in fact, the group had asked council to look at 3 years, but because of the kind of extraordinary circumstances we're in, we told them we'll just deal with this year, and then we'll go back to our normal programming, so to speak, in future years, and we'll see where they land.
Follow up?
Follow up.
So are we be looking, will they be asking for shortfall funding, or are we looking to do any of that?
Can't hear him.
Make it in the following years, or how are we going to proceed with this? Sorry, you know if they're going to be looking for shortfall funding in future years if they don't get their funding, or how soon would we know if they're going to need funding to go forward in future?
You were kind of breaking up there a little bit, but I think the question you're looking for, this is basically a guarantee or a shortfall funding because of the donations that may not come in because of businesses this COVID event.
So your worship, just to be clear, so for this year, what we're proposing is that basically we would fund the fireworks. Depending when it is, the group will decide what else happens that day or that weekend. And it may be a year where they only do the fireworks that we provide, and they collect whatever donations they can to kind of start to replenish their bank account for future years. So I think the short answer to your question would be really after this year is over, then we can regroup with them and see where they're at. It was felt that it wouldn't be a good year to hit businesses up for sponsorship like they have in the past, but they feel like that they still will be able to do that once we get through this kind of crisis. So, so this year is just for the fireworks, and then future years we'll look at what their programming is and at what level council wants to fund it.
Any other questions? Councillor Dodd, did I see your hand up?
Yes. This is, they didn't have this last year. Now, normally Forest has fireworks, Canada Day. Has that been canceled?
So through you, your worship, at this point, it hasn't been canceled as far as we know. The Forest group puts theirs on. They're in a little bit different situation with fireworks, as they the volunteer firemen take care of those for them to light them off. Council still does support the program through their grant process, so they still get the $3,000 that's allocated to them. And at this point, they haven't indicated one way or the other what they may or may not do. And I think simply because at this point, none of us really know what will be taking place on July 1st.
Okay,
Follow up.
follow up, Councillor Dodge?
You are committing for Grand Bend to have the fireworks on July the 1st, or are they under the same category as everybody else? Not until the ban is lifted?
I didn't quite get what the question was.
Well, I guess I'm asking if there be no fireworks if the ban on open functions is not lifted, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So this is maybe happening,
Yep.
hopefully, but it could also not happen.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Or your worship, there's a possibility it may happen on a different long weekend. If the July 1st can't happen, the group may decide to look at another long weekend. So, but at this point, it's planned for the Canada Day, and if it's, we'll get more information from the government on whether we can or can't do that.
Thank you.
Councillor Scott and then Councillor Saban.
Okay, thank you. Through you to Steve, if we give money to Grand Bend, how does Forest get their money for their fireworks? What if they need money? Will we also be bringing that forth to us to give them money as well? And where will this money come from?
So just to be clear, we're not really giving money to this group. We're gonna pay for the fireworks. As far as Forest, they seem to be able to manage that themselves with the grant that we already give them. Obviously, Forest is a much smaller show, so it doesn't cost quite as much. And the money that we're proposing for Grand Bend is we're proposing it to come from the Vibrancy Fund.
Okay.
Councillor Saban.
I guess just for clarification, if everybody remembers, we're in sort of a changeover year with this group. So a lot of the volunteers and organizers and Kevin Poole, they're all gone now. So this is a changeover year and it's COVID. So I think what they're looking for is just assurances from us that the costs will be covered and then they can move forward as a group like they've always done in the past. I think this is extraordinary circumstances and that's why we've been asked for this.
Okay. Any other questions regarding this? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item 10.6, planning report on Daniel Ave, road dedication and assumption. There's a road dedication assumption bylaw in there. I don't know that I'm going to read all that for everyone, but it's road part 1 dedicated as a public highway and lot 56 plan 468. Different sections of that road, and bylaw 15 of 2020 being a road dedication and naming bylaw be approved by bylaw. So is there any Councillor Dodd, you'll move that report?
Yes.
Move that recommendation, second by Councillor Sageman. Is there any questions? Our planner is available. Is there any planners? Any questions? Seeing no questions, all in favor of that report? I think that's carried. Thank you. 10.7, planning report 07, request to extend a draft plan approval. And this is requesting a race development company extend approval of the revised draft plan be received, and that approval be extended to June 15th, 2023. Moved by Mayor Cook, seconded by Councilor McGuire. Any questions? Seeing no questions, all in favor of that recommendation? I believe that's carried. Thank you. 10.8 is a treasurer's report regarding the audit questionnaire. The recommendation that it be received and that the municipal auditors be informed that council is aware of the municipality's administrative fiscal management process and of no suspicion or knowledge of fraud or error. This is the letter that we answer with the questions. Does anyone have any questions, or someone prepared to move the recommendation that they Councillor Dodge, by Councillor Sageman? Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor of that recommendation? That is carried. Thank you. 10.9, Treasurer's Report 12, first quarter draft operating and capital financial statements. There's a recommendation there that the 2020 draft first quarter financial statements be received. Moved by Deputy Mayor Cook, seconded by Councillor Scott. Any questions regarding the auditor's statement?
Got a question, Your Worship.
Go ahead.
You hear me all right?
Yep.
So on the report under protection services, we approved an independent third-party review of the fire services at a previous meeting.
Yep.
And I'm just concerned with the language that's used at the beginning of the protection services written report. Lambton Shores Fire and Emergency Services has achieved a successful first quarter. Early in the year, the chiefs and 5 station chiefs met further the work on the strategic direction of the department. This work will influence development of the master plan. Is that intended to influence it, or is that just a bad choice of words there?
Through your worship, I can probably answer that. If you took influence to that meaning, I certainly understand. Maybe inform, prepare for the lengthy consultation process that will take place as the fire master plan comes out. Something like that might make more sense. So maybe inform the consultation process, or be prepared for it as a group of chiefs being one of the groups that are going to be consulted, along with all the others that will be consulted. Does that help, Councillor?
So follow up, has there been any company picked to do that work yet, or are we still in that process?
We are at the very final stages of the process. The 6 station chiefs have been involved at looking at and reviewing the reviews as outlined in the RFP through the qualification process. We're just in the final stages, getting ready to announce the successful company.
Okay, so it's just a bad choice of words there, if I take it literal?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Any other questions regarding that, Deputy Mayor Cook?
Thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me better now, or I'm not sure, am I still breaking up? Okay. The housing stats, can we get maybe just some quarterly housing stat, or the quarterly housing stats, getting a report as far as maybe number of new builds or new applications going in, as far as getting a sense of where the actual new builds are coming from, or how many new builds we got going into the municipality right now?
Yes.
Your worship, I'll jump in. Sure, we can pull that out. We can send the first quarter out to you by email, and then we can include a section in the next quarter report if that suits.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay. Any other questions regarding the first quarter? Any comments from our treasurer regarding the first quarter?
Through you, Your Worship, if I could just point out
We've made comments throughout the report for the impacts of the COVID-19 situation. To date, we haven't incurred cost. In April we have, so that'll be included on the next quarter. We have created separate accounts to follow, just like we did in the tornado situation. Some things that come to mind out of this are signs that we had created for parks. Those types of things are being tracked separately, and we'll have further information as this moves forward.
Okay. Thank you for that. Seeing any other questions? All in favor of receiving the first quarter's financial statement? That's carried, I believe. Okay. 10.10 is the clerk's annual Grand Bend Harbor agreements. Recommendation that the annual agreements for commercial use property Grand Bend Harbor be received. Bylaw 17 authorizes the execution of subleases for the government federal harbor building to approve. And that bylaw 18 authorizing execution of agreement with Extreme Water Sports and Grand Bend Parasail for use of the space on the North Pier be approved. Councillor Wilcox?
I'll move it.
Moved. Councillor McGuire has seconded that. Any questions? Councillor Sageman?
Yes, through your worship. I was looking through the agreement, and they are allowed to put up a structure as they have in the past. And sort of one of the concerns that some of us had were the location of that structure. Is there any way or somewhere where I've missed in this agreement where it stipulates where the structure should be? Or if we can approve it before it gets put somewhere? There we go. I see it.
I am hearing that we have the right to say where the location of that structure is.
I just saw that in Part C. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions regarding this harbor annual agreement? All in favor of that? That's carried. Thank you. Item number 11, a notice of motion from Councillor McGuire. The recommendation that staff provide a report on reducing the speed limit from 50 km/h to 40 km/h on all streets north of the river and west of Ontario Street in Grand Bend. So it's a recommendation asking for a report, moved by Councillor McGuire, seconded by Councillor Scott. Any questions regarding that report? Councillor Scott.
We have 40 kilometers in Port Franks. So by doing this in the area that has been suggested, are we going to have most of our inclusive areas all going to 40 kilometers, like Arcona and Thetford in their streets as well? Or is this just going to be exclusively like for Port Franks and for the area that Councillor Dave has put into place? Is this something we're moving forward to, I guess?
This is just asking for a report back based on traffic flows, and it would all have to be signed.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, Your Worship.
Yes, Councillor Marsh, go ahead.
Thank you. This is the Councillor McGuire. Why is it just part of Grand Bend and not all of Grand Bend?
Yes, Councillor Marsh. The areas that I'm referring to here in this motion are basically the old Plan 24 areas. They're they're narrow streets, both with parking on each side. So pedestrians are almost forced onto the road allowance itself to walk on. It's more of a safety concern there, where other streets, there's wider spaces. And we do have 30-kilometer-hour speed limits in South Cap Pines, 40 kilometers an hour in Hume Woods, 40 kilometers an hour in my subdivision. So this area is just not signed well for 40.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions regarding that request for report? All in favor of that? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. 11.2 is notice of motion for Councillor McGuire as well. The staff prepare a report to consider the installation of a four-way stop signs at the intersection where Center Street crosses both Queens Avenue and Elmwood Avenue. Moved by Councillor McGuire, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cook. Is getting a traffic calming report. Any other questions regarding that? All in favor of that recommendation? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Item 12 is emergent issues. I see no emergent issues listed. Item 13 is the bylaws. Councillor Dodge moves the bylaws 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Seconded by Councillor Wilcox. Any questions? Bylaws be read the first, second, and third time, passed and signed by the mayor and clerk. All in favor of that? So, carried. Thank you. And it looks like we have made it through a virtual meeting. And motion to adjourn. I believe that's Councillor Goodhand.
There's me.
Any questions about adjournment? I think this meeting went well, as that we all have the opportunity to kind of smooth, actually. So we hope the public enjoyed that with our being virtual and on live streaming.
Hey, Your Worship,
Councillor Wilcox.
I'd like to thank staff that helped me out so I could get onto these meetings, because I wouldn't be here without them. So there's several there that know who they are. Thank you.
That's ditto.
Our staff are doing a lot of extra things right now to make sure that they're safe, that things still get done in the community. So we'll, that's certainly a part that we need to keep supporting them. They're doing an exceptional job. I can't imagine the healthcare workers and those other ones that are working out there doing a tremendous job. The first responders, everybody all the way through. So it is trying times. I just asked everyone to stay home, stay safe, and be kind to one another. It's challenging times. I see Councillor Scott.
I just want to add my thank yous in too. I mean, this has been smooth sailing. You get your questions answered, you get help, you get advice to go talk to people. It's you guys are outstanding.
That's all good. Anyway, we will, like I said, stay home, stay safe. We'll get through this together. All in favor of the adjournment? Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.